Let's just say that all this power training, all this jump stuff that I'm doing, it's not really getting me stronger. All it's really doing is turning all the muscle fibers on. So it's not really getting me stronger. It's just making me more, nervously activated. And therefore, when I come into the training session, I feel a little bit more awake and use more of my potential. Let's just say that's what it does, and there's no other, thing happening here. It's just purely waking you up. Let's just say it's just that. Why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want to be fully awake, fully turned on, all the fibers working for the training session? Why would you want to have any of the fibers off? Makes no sense. So if you just think to yourself, these power movements are simply turning me on for the session, that's good enough for me. But clearly there's more at play here. There's more at play, and lots of much stronger guys than me have proven that speed reps really valuable. If you think about conjugate method, if you think about Louis Simmons, I've listened to that man speak a lot, man, a lot. And since I've started doing this power training, jump training, I've been listening to him again. Every few months, man, I come back to him and listen to the same damn podcasts that I've listened to a million times, it seems. So the next question for me is, okay, I've got these jumps for the squatting. That's fantastic. What can I do for the upper body? What can I do for the bench press? A few days ago, I started messing around with, what do they call them? Plyo push-ups. So I would basically set up a barbell at the pins, like really low, kind of like knee level. And I would do push-ups off of that. But instead of doing a normal push-up, I would try to throw my body up. The reason I don't do it from the floor is, well, I'm basically not strong enough to actually get enough air time for the thing to work, right? The thing with speed training is that you don't want to load it too much to the point where it's not speedy. The whole point of, training power is to actually exhibit speed. If your speed reps are really slow, well, you're not really training your speed, are you? So it's about acceleration. You need to pick a weight that's heavy enough for you to, I don't want to say manhandle, but, accelerate at least. Today, I thought, let's try something else. Not that the plyo push-ups didn't work or whatever. I'm just kind of exploring here. Today, I decided to use the bands. I've never done bands on bench. So I took one band, doubled it up, worked out after some messing around with weights, worked out that it was 15 kilos. So together, 30 kilos. So I worked up to 130 kilos all up. So 100 plus 30 band tension. I think I got 2 reps with that. There's something really cool about band tension, especially on the bench press for me, because I struggle off the chest. It's clear to me now. I'm much more comfortable kind of pushing out the top, even though I fail halfway up. The symptom of the fail is there. Like, that's where you exhibit the failure, it stops there. But that's not where you should look for clues. You've lost speed before that point. So if you're missing at the middle of any lift, you could look at that middle portion, but really you should look at beforehand, because you've lost velocity, you've lost speed, you've got a dead spot somewhere before. You don't just fail, like a button click on the keyboard. It's not like that. There's a lead up to the failure. For me, it's off the chest. For some reason, I can't generate speed off the chest. And then I started thinking to myself, well, all the push-ups that I do, I'll do them really, really narrow. I bench narrow, I push up narrow. Everything I do is narrow. In fact, even my squatting is narrow. So I thought, well, I'm really uncomfortable wide. Wide makes me feel really healthy. What if I did really wide push-ups? So that's kind of what I'm working through here. I've already worked out earlier in the day. I'm just messing around with doing really wide push-ups now. But the bands, what the bands do is that they take it easy on my chest, on my bottom portion, and then give it, they really give it to me at the top, right? So it's kind of like accommodating resistance. So it's kind of like, it's dumbing it down for you where you're, really dumb, and it's really getting tricky for you where you're really good. So it's kind of really cool, the bands can provide that. But ultimately speaking, if you're, there's more to it than that. Like, I don't want to simplify this to, benching is so simple. It's not. But my understanding is that if you are really crap off the chest, it's your pecs. eats your pecs. It's also a lot of technique, what's happening with your elbows. Are you doing, enough of an arch? And then obviously the muscular weaknesses are the pecs, those are the muscles that are most stretched at the bottom. And so how do you train pecs? Well, there's 101 different freaking machines in the gym, or you can just take your grip really wide. That tends to work the pecs more. So wide push-ups, wide bench, pause bench, that kind of thing really works. Since I'm doing a lot of push-ups today, I might as well freaking, crank out wide push-ups. The only thing with me is that I've tried this in the past and my shoulders get a little bit weird with it. So before loading the barbell with wide bench press, I'd rather go to push-ups, because push-ups work with your body, right? It doesn't lock you in. Your scapulas are free to do whatever the hell they want. In the past, I've just gone straight to wide bench. I messed around with this probably, I want to say October, November of last year, just messing around with bench, and my shoulder kind of felt weird, like anterior shoulder, because the thing is, like, you lay down on the bench, you trap your scapula, and you force your range of motion to a range which you're not really good at, and then things start to get exposed and a bit, sticky and tight and whatever. Push-ups are great, kind of like bodyweight squats, man. You do whatever the hell you want. If your elbows want to go this way, scapulas follow, all that stuff. So that's the plan right now. For the next little while, I'm going to focus on wide push-ups to target the pecs, and I'll reckon I'll continue doing the bands, a few times a week with the bench press. I really like how they feel. It allows me to handle more weight on the bar, and it accommodates for my pec weakness. So it's kind of like you're using more weight where you're strong, and using less weight where you'd be using anyway for the weaker part. So it's really cool. But my mind is constantly in the last week or so, constantly thinking about this whole power business, man. Like every training session, I'm trying to think to myself, okay, start with power type of exercise, move to strength, and then really, if you really want it, you can move to endurance later. I'm not really doing endurance stuff at all. I mean, you could potentially say that what I'm doing with these push-ups is endurance, strength endurance, something like that. I don't know. For me, it's basically bodybuilding. It's just, when I do these push-ups, man, I swell up. So to me, it's bodybuilding. I know it's a lot of reps, but whatever. That's how I think about it. But again, I hit 200 kilos for the squat. Today was probably the hardest. Very sore today. After yesterday, doing those RDLs, woke up this morning, man, as expected. It always happens. I wasn't under any illusion that I wasn't gonna feel, sore. Adductors are sore, quads are sore, a bit of, not quads, hamstrings and adductors are sore, glutes are sore. So it was kind of a little bit, it took me a little while to warm up with the jumps because everything freaking hurts. Going down into an eccentric squat, you can just feel everything tightening up. But I got through it, I got it. So I'm kind of feeling good about that. So basically, I've done a week of 200 kilos. How long is this gonna go? How I'm gonna progress it? There's nothing planned. A lot of you guys are saying try 210. For me, it's all about auto regulation. I know I don't even like saying that term to myself anymore. But yes, some of these days, like yesterday, the bar moved really well, and I could have done a little bit more. But because I knew I was gonna go down the line of RDLing and all of that, I really didn't want to go down that path because, the bulk of my work really is the bodyweight stuff. Bodyweight push-ups, bodyweight squats. That's kind of where I'm doing a lot of the stuff, which you guys are not seeing a lot because, I can't make these freaking videos half an hour long or an hour long or whatever. But yes, I'm still doing the background stuff. I'm not under any illusion that, the jumping has miraculously solved everything. In my books, I think what's really happened with my squatting is the bodyweight squats, hands down. When you do hundreds upon hundreds of bodyweight squats, the body works out its issues, starts to feel good. It starts to add strength where you need to add strength. And so now, like, jumping feels good, squatting feels good, everything feels good. So I'm kind of like peaking a little bit with this power training and all whatnot. But I'm in the background still getting after it, man. Still doing hundreds of reps of push-ups and whatever. And I'm still loving it. And that to me is health. And, moving forward, I don't think I'll ever let go of this. I know I get accused all the time of jumping ship of my ideas. But some ideas stick with me, man. And when I latch onto an idea, kind of like the squat every day thing, you know, when I read that book, Squat Every Day by Matt Perriman all those years ago, and when I read Power to the People by Pavel Tsatsouline, you know, I never let go of those ideas, did I? You know, so when I find something that is intellectually, you know, common sense to me, where you know, really makes sense to me, I really latch on. And this is one of those ideas, these push-ups, these bodyweight squats, man. There's something special, man. Everything feels great. Everything feels great. And when I feel great, I can push into the bar. There's nothing worse, man. I've said this many times before. There is nothing worse when you're squatting or when you're doing whatever movement and you are kind of like, you know, what's the word in motorsport? You're not really smashing the hell out of the throttle. You're like tapering the throttle. I forget the term. Because you're worried about slippage of tires or whatever, you know, traction and whatever. So you're there like, you know, being soft on the throttle. There's nothing worse. You just want to freaking slam it. And sometimes, like, you know, when I've been unwell with my hip, you know, you get into the squat, you get up and you're kind of like going 70 or 80% might into the bar because you're like, I really don't want to bring the pain on. Because when you bring the pain on, you're bouncing off the rev limiter and everything's breaking. There's black smoke coming out of the freaking back exhaust and all this shit, like everything's falling apart. You don't want to go there. So you want to run the race and remain unscathed. That's kind of how, you know, for a lot of time I've done it, because I was in the dark. I didn't really know what was going on. Finally, I freaking worked out, you know, after a million times hitting my head against the wall. Get those damn freaking reps in, man. Get the bodyweight squats. Initially I thought big squat routine, this, that, 10 sets of 10, but nah, man, screw all of that. The weight's irrelevant. Move those joints through the full range of motion. The weight is irrelevant. When I finally understood that, I was like, bodyweight squats, push-ups, let's go. Let's just get the blood in there. Who cares how much resistance is on? Since then, mint. Absolutely mint. So I'm very happy at the moment, fellas. All right, guys, that's all for today. Another successful day. Hopefully today I'll make it 8 days in a row. I'm thinking about, you know, number 8. What jersey could I potentially wear tomorrow? There's only one I can think of. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.